Hey, look at you!
Hey,
Hey, imagine that.
what are you guys doing?
We're drinking a
drinking
wine.
wine.
Apparently. Yeah, that's good. So, you've watched all of our videos, right?
No, not one actually.
Okay, well, thanks. And
Bye, Mike.
we'll do what we do, and we'll just hand the ball to you, and you just run with it.
Okay.
All right, great. So, guys, we'll start our normal way. Hi, welcome to Life in a Bottle, Season 2, Episode...
18.
Guys, how many? It's 18, so Cody, you go with 10. Cody goes with 10. Kyle, you go with 8. Mike, you just look pretty.
Sorry, failed you.
Okay, okay. Anyway, so where are we? We're in Oregon, right? More specifically, we're in...
The Willamette Valley.
Okay, and even more specifically...
We're
Patton Valley?
We're in Gaston.
Yeah?
In Patton Valley.
All right, so we have a special guest, which is awesome. Mike Wilson from Patton Valley Vineyards has bombed our Zoom meeting. Thanks, Mike. No, actually, we invited him. So, Mike, no better than you to talk to us about this particular wine. And
Great. Well, I know at least some of us are about to have it in the glass. It's the 2017 Patton Valley Vineyard Willamette Valley Pinot Noir. This is a single vineyard Pinot Noir, all from our estate. The wine's one of the few organically grown and simplistically made single vineyard estate Pinot Noirs on the market in this price category. The wine is typically fairly red fruited. Our vineyard sits at the top of a big hill with exposures in every direction. And that may not sound altogether that interesting, but when your vineyard is just facing a direction, it usually gets ripe all at the same time. It's just a matter of elevation that differentiates between when you pick. But if you're exposed in every direction, you're going to get a whole wide variety of ripening times, a whole different variety of styles of Pinot Noir that comes off of each block depending on the elevation and the aspect. And more importantly for us, a very small winery, it gives us an opportunity to not have to pick all on the same day or within a couple of days. This wine, for example, was brought in over the course of 6 weeks in 2017. That allows us to to do things in small batches, right? We can do batch pressing with this wine rather than all bladder pressing. We can think about things in terms of 1-ton ferments instead of 20-ton ferments or whatever. So everything's being handled very carefully with this wine. What it tends to be, because we make more than one wine from our estate, is the earlier ripening stuff. You've all probably, at least 3 of you, have seen me make this sort of arm gesture where we talk about phenolic ripening versus physiologic ripening as sort of happening like this. And you get, in certain cases, you get phenolic ripeness that comes along around here when it's time to pick. Sadly, physiologic ripeness is way ahead. And what we're just talking about here is the accumulation of sugars versus the accumulation of complexity, polyphenols and esters. So with this wine, it tends to be a little skewed. You have more physiologic ripeness than phenolic. And instead of overhanging the fruit, letting it, raisinate a little bit, and then we have to add acid and water and all sorts of stuff. We just let it be that. We let it be a little fruit forward, a little bright, a little cheery. So we pick it, give it a couple of days of maceration, a little cold soak as they call it. This is spontaneously fermented, so after cold soak, we just turn the temp up a little bit and let the ambient yeast do its job. And then we basket press this wine. This is 60-40 basket press to bladder. So 60% of this wine was pressed out using a basket. And that's just, again, it's a 1/4 ton press. So it's stupid in about a million ways because it takes longer, but it gives you a dramatic amount of control, a dramatic amount more control than over the bladder press, which is wonderful and efficient. But if you go too far, you go too far. So again, spontaneous yeast ferment, it's not going to end up being fined or filtered, but it does have a rather short élevage. This wine, when it's young, kind of already tastes good. That's the neat part about early ripening fruit, is it's wow, it's already good. So we don't do that much in terms of oak or time in oak. It's just 10% new French oak barrels. The rest are going to be a mixture of once filled, which it's kind of like using the tea bag a second time, and then really neutral barrels. And that produces this really lively, bright, jump out of the glass style Pinot. It's not dumb because it isn't overripe. It's very pleasant. It's extremely well balanced. A nice, bright, lively acidity that sort of completes the package here.
Question for you, Mike.
Yeah.
How long have you been pouring all estate grapes into this wine?
The 2016 was the first vintage for that. Prior to that, the 2015, 14, etc. Those had been a blend of usually 3 or 4, the majority of which was Patton Valley. But we made the decision in 2016 to do away with the purchased fruit. It's complicated too, Cody, because we are a non-sub-appellated producer, right? So all of our wines say Willamette Valley on them rather than something else, which makes for some complications. This is a single vineyard estate wine, appellated Willamette Valley, that in previous iterations used to have 3 or 4 other vineyards. And most do, right? Most Willamette Valley appellated Pinots are a blend of 7 or 8 or whatever. Who cares what the number is? So to compete in that arena, we thought, well, what if we just did all estate? And I don't know. I think it's working.
I think so.
Killer.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. That was Kyle. I think I was interrupting. But one of the cool things about Patton Valley that we like to stress, well, 2 things really. Number one is we're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Mitch has been up there. We're off the beaten path a little bit. But we're really far north and west, even relative to the Willamette Valley. It produces wines that tend to ripen up a little later because we get these great breezes in from the coast. One thing that's really cool about Patton Valley is the wind is always blowing. That is good. Wind blowing means that we're not going to have mildew pressure. Wind blowing tends to mean that our temperature in the fruiting zone, even though it's getting direct sunlight, isn't going to be as high as if there wasn't wind. You guys know this if you go outside, although I suspect it's cold in Connecticut today.
It varies from day to day. It was 60 degrees 3 days ago. This morning it was 37. It's a roll of the dice.
Great. Yeah, I've got sunscreen on today, which is unusual for me. So that's one cool thing. Then the other cool thing that we like to talk about is that it's a single soil type, and that's pretty rare in the Willamette Valley. Most vineyards are strata. Even in the Dundee Hills, you have a predominance of Jori, followed by some of the other really interesting soils. But in Patton Valley, we're just one type of windblown sedimentary loess called laurelwood. It's between 10 inches and 10 feet deep. And that, again, it sort of we're stressing this red fruitedness that we think is sort of the hallmark of that soil type. And then when we're treating it the way we do, which again is small lots and spontaneous ferments and the low amount of oak, 10% new oak for 10 months, that's not a lot. And then unvined and unfiltered, you're really getting a sense of the place, we hope. That said, again, it's ripe fruit. And that's kind of what drives this wine, the fruit. But I do feel like the second and third sip produce a little bit more complexity that, I don't know, make this wine pretty compelling. It's easy to guzzle down a bottle of this without really thinking about it, because you're like, wow, that was good. I should try that again and again, and I'll try it again.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll let you get out. We'll let you skedaddle.
All right, guys.
Stay healthy.
Good to see you, Mike. Be well, man.
Good to see you guys.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
All right. Well, that was fun. That was good.
That was fun. That was kind of cool.
I think the only thing that's really left to do is to pour a little bit more in my glass, at least, and to talk a little bit about what we'd pair with this. Cody, what are you thinking as far as, besides a nice afternoon? I'll do my normal thing there.
Well, I think this is an impeccable salmon wine, Mitch. And what you'll see they'll do in Oregon is they'll actually take the fillets and cook them like right over the fire, like at an angle. And like I kind of just imagine sitting down with a lightly charred salmon and semi-cool glass of Patton Valley White Label. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, I've actually seen that firsthand, and you're absolutely right. Pinot and salmon over an open fire is an awesome thing to experience. Kyle, what are we thinking?
First thing, I love a roasted chicken with this wine. It's got grapefruit. It's got some savoriness. It's got a little bit of that from the little amount of oak they use. It's got a little bit of spice that comes through, and I think that would stand up really nicely to some herbs. Some nice roastiness from that chicken skin too. I'd be happy with that.
Awesome. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking a cupcake from Cake Box. Now, my particular cupcake that I chose looks like to be a coconut with like sort of a cream frosting. It looks like a sort of a vanilla cupcake. So I'm gonna test my theory on that. I know you guys got cupcakes, so let's show your cupcake off to the fans at home.
Got a little salted caramel hiding over here.
Nice. I almost went with that, but I was really in the mood for the coconut. I'm a big coconut fan, and my children would be proud of I taught them to make a little sandwich. It's my patented cupcake eating method.
The Oreo cupcake method.
First off, awesome cupcake.
Nice. Yeah, likewise.
Kyle, I think I got the same one.
It's good, right? It's delicious.
Oh, wait.
And I do have to say, all joking aside, sort of that brightness of the wine and that fresh fruit coming forward actually works pretty well with kind of the sweetness of the cupcake.
I mean, worst case scenario, I'm eating a cupcake and drinking a glass of wine. It's a great cupcake. It's a great wine. I am not losing here.
You know what? I can't think of a better thought to end the video on. So, gentlemen, from afar, cheers.
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 Oh, look at that.